Good evening. These tapes were sent to us here at IGX Broadcasting by a Doctor Chesterton. We've not been able to reach him to confirm their content or validity, so we leave that up to you to decide. Without further delay, allow me to introduce for your consideration the Black Rock Archives.
So, we need to talk.
Yes, that would seem to be the case.
What, no one got the balls to come in here with me?
It's for your own safety.
Don't insult my intelligence.
What do you want, Seven?
The truth.
Unfortunately, that is all that remains of the tape of Dr. Dennin's interview with Seven. A freak electromagnetic anomaly caused all of the backups we had from the mirror room to be erased. This was a fragment recorded by a researcher's phone as he was taking a selfie. Even though this is strictly forbidden inside the facility, luckily for us, he had accidentally recorded a video instead. We're not sure if the anomaly was caused by the variable, or if it was a byproduct of the monitoring equipment, but technical support from Portland Down have been called in to test their machines, as this cannot be allowed to happen again. As for the interview, we do have a full transcript of the conversation. I will be attaching that to this audio log, but I'll summarise here. Seven, I know this is some sort of biological experiment, you know. Denon, how can you be sure, David? Seven, well, it's obvious, isn't it? First 4's mysterious illness, and now 9 has just cut his bloody head open right in front of us all. So the way I see it, you're conducting an illegal experiment here, and you have lost control. Denon, how did you come to this conclusion? 7 then proceeds to aggressively list the deaths of 9 and 4. From here it's about 5 minutes of 7 ranting, and Dr. Denon attempting to calm him down. The overall point of this outburst from 7 is that we need to let everyone out, and we need to treat them for whatever they've been exposed to. Denon politely explains to 7 this is not an option, and that the safest thing is for them to remain part of the experiment. At this stage, it becomes clear that 7 is an intensely intelligent and practical man, exclaiming that he knows that they are stuck in here now, and that if he wants to be let out, he knows he must work with the research team, not against them. But if they want his help, they will have to give him some idea of what is happening. Denon and I had discussed this eventuality before the interview began, and it was decided that 7 would be let into a fraction of the overall experiment so that he could have enough context to keep him on side. It was explained to him that he and the other subjects were being exposed to a classified object, and their reactions were being recorded so that the dangers of the object can be understood. Now, this was the first time I had been allowed to sit in on any classified information about the object, as my security clearance is only level 5. It was explained that the object was of unknown origins, and that it had the very real potential to threaten all human life on Earth. Now, 7 is an ex-military covert operations analyst. This was the exact reason he was chosen for this study. Denon knew that if he needed to explain the severity to the subjects, it would be best to have someone accustomed to secrecy and ready to lay down his life for the security of the country, let alone the world. I was, not until this point, aware of the severity of the situation. Picked up from clues and shreds of information, I was aware we were dealing with a serious threat, but the potential extinction of the human race? I had no idea. Following this, Seven seemed to stiffen as he was clearly beginning to understand the nature of what we were doing here. His training had obviously kicked in. He was lightly briefed about this experiment before its taking place, as unlike the other subjects, he was aware that we were in the ORAD Black Rock facility, a fact that has been kept from the other subjects for obvious reasons. It was at this stage that I was asked by Dr. Denon to leave the room and take the other researchers with me, as the conversation was turning to highly classified matters, and I did not have the clearance required to be involved in that particular conversation. Returning to the main observation room for the duration, I busied myself with standard observation protocols. I was almost on autopilot as I tried to process the information I had just been given. Sarah was sitting next to the main bank of monitors, and the horror of the day's events didn't seem to bother her. She was, as always, diligently marking down every slight change in the remaining subjects and comparing them to data from the previous trials. She seemed concerned about me, but didn't push the matter. I'm so glad of her presence at the moment. She has a wonderful calming effect on the team. I think her and my wife would probably get on rather well in a social setting. Oh, how I miss Jane. It must have been months now since I last saw her, but time is very strange here. It's hard to pin down how long I've actually been here. Is it months? Or has it been a year? I can't remember. Did I see her when I went to visit my cousin? It's been so hectic since I returned. I barely remember leaving. I remember the hospital and the doctors, but I can't. No, I did see her. I must have done. She wouldn't have missed the birth of Katie's first, or... No, it must be sleep deprivation. I must have been to see her and the baby. The baby's name was... What was the name? Tyrus. What a strange name for a baby. First off, I must apologise for the length of Day 7's log. It would seem that I fell asleep in front of the recorder. Sarah had to turn it off and hit send, but she wasn't aware of the length it was, so she didn't manage to cut out the snoring. I'm feeling much more refreshed today, and after talking to Dr. Denon, Seven has almost become our man on the inside. He explained to the other subjects that 9 was not dead, and that it was just part of the experiment. He then decided to tell them that they were free to leave, but if they stayed, their pay would be tripled. His effect on the group is very reassuring, and it's only 15 now who is concerned about the experiment, so... But that is the virtues of choosing participants who are in deep financial trouble. It's the allure of money is enough to keep them here. The opening of Stage 3 was moved forward, and the general mathematics tests have been implemented now, so we can calculate the problem-solving capabilities of the group. With the opening of Stage 3, the size of the test areas has increased to a point where the claustrophobic feeling is beginning to subside. 6 has even taken to running an impromptu exercise routine with some of the other subjects. This also marks out the furthest any of our studies have made it before termination, so despite the complications of Day 7, the general feeling in the research facility is ecstatic. Dr. Denon even brought in a few pastries and cakes to celebrate the landmark. 7 is now on board, and we have someone capable of calming the other subjects in extreme situations. I'm not sure what Denon said to him, but he seems a lot more compliant now than he ever was before. With the continuation of the logic puzzles based on Professor Helgen Lastein's research, we should have a working cognitive map for the effects of the objects by the end of the week. If we can successfully implement this, we'll be another step towards understanding how to best neutralise and utilise our findings so far. I just wish I was able to inspect the object itself. Without a full understanding of what we're dealing with here, I can't do my best work. I keep petitioning Dr. Denon, but he still refuses to upgrade my security clearance. So for now, I'm stuck attempting to work without knowing all the variables. Well, I suppose there's no point in crying over spilt milk, so I best get back to work and make the best of it. Day 9, and it's about 1:30. I've spent the whole morning showing the representative from our benefactors Morgan & Morgan around the facility today. Peter Carris is a businessman, through and through. From what I can gather, he has a background in the biosciences, but it became very apparent that, at heart, he is a businessman, and he enjoys all that comes with that. Within the first 10 minutes of the tour, he had already determined that we could save money 8 different ways, from replacing the coffee machine for a jar of instant, something I am not best pleased with, to trading our high-field static spectrogram machine for a cheaper Denzel pulse recorder. I suspect that he does not intend to make any of these changes, as I am sure he is well aware of the importance of the work we're doing here. I think it's more to do with him wanting to cement his authority. With 7 helping to calm the other subjects, we've been able to return the variable to the newly opened office area. This has been set up specifically to give the subjects a recognisable area to perform the cognitive tests in. The object has been fitted into a compartment underneath the exact centre of the office, and this should give equal exposure rates to the subjects as they work. We had considered making Stage 3 a schoolroom, as it would have been recognisable, and would have subconsciously prepared them for mental exercises, but after a bit of discussion we thought this might make the subjects uncomfortable, so we settled on the office as a way of achieving similar results. Without making them feel like we were treating them as children. The tests devised using Professor Lastein's research have been placed on their desks. These have been split into 3 distinct categories: mathematics, biology and physics, coloured appropriately, but without a clear beginning it'll be interesting to see what they take to first. We have left a sign up saying that they are to become familiar with the environment, but they're not to begin their tasks until tomorrow. We did, however, leave some board games available to them to prepare for the tests and to alleviate boredom. Scrabble and Cluedo seem to be the preferred favourites. At the moment, as the office is the only staging area that has tables, they have spent the last few hours playing and getting used to their new surroundings, which is good because they seem to be getting comfortable. 2 seems to be sleeping a lot at the moment. She gets up to use the facilities and grab some food, but then returns to her bed and lies perfectly still for hours on end. At this moment, we're not sure if this is due to the conditions of the experiment area or if this is directly related to the exposure. As we had an unrecorded symptom present itself on Day 6, we cannot rule this out at this moment in time. Dr. Denon asked me to stay on for the night shift, as the object has been reintroduced into the experiment. As I have had nothing to do really today, I have accepted it might also be because Peter is going to be sitting in, so he can have a full overview of the project. Denon is aware I am more accepting of his involvement, if only marginally. Hang on, Sorry, I'm just reviewing the tapes from today before the shift change, and it would appear that 2 has not moved for 5 hours. I might have to suggest to 7 that he attempts to wake her. But I'll catch back up with you on my night shift recording. Two has, we believe, fallen into a comatose state. After 7 attempted to rouse her and got no response, 7 administered a few tests to check life signs, and her pulse and breathing is normal. This led us to the conclusion that this is another new symptom of exposure. We're currently discussing the possibility of removing her from the experiment for observation in a fully equipped medical laboratory. However, none of the other subjects except 7 have noticed this abnormality, and 7 himself had to be prompted. Sarah's not arrived for her night shift tonight, and we've not received any communications from her. She is one of the few researchers permitted to reside off facility in the village a few miles away, so we can't send our security personnel to find her. This is because the local police force are not best pleased after the capturing of a runaway test subject in the last experiment. Well, it became messy. I hope nothing's happened to her. I'm sure she's fine. The rest of the evening went as expected. The subjects went to bed without any incidents and totally ignored 2, so I suppose we'll have to wait and see what happens tomorrow. I won't be getting in until the afternoon shift, so I hope I don't miss anything again. Dr. Jonathan Chesterton, signing out for day 9.
Thank you very much for listening to the Black Rock Archives. If you would like to know more about the archives, or us here at IGX, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud and Twitter. Thank you again, and remember, the truth is there, you just have to find it.